How many qualities does Krishna have? Does anyone know? Major qualities. Main qualities. 64 main qualities. So he has 64 main qualities and we covered up to 30 last time. So I thought we'll continue discussing them. Generally, it's a nice idea to discuss them before Janmashtami. So leading up to Janmashtami, Krishna willing, we'll cover all the 64 qualities. So without further ado, we'll get started. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sopadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Rahunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लांघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणं नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे. So actually today's class will be given by all of you. So I will just lead it and then I'm sure, how many of you have been, at least when you were young, how many of you had heard pastimes of Krishna? I'm sure all of you would have heard some pastimes of Krishna when you were young. How many of you teach these pastimes to your kids? Not everyone. Oh, you learned some. Very good. Very good. Excellent. So you may be able to give today's class. I will ask questions and then you can answer my questions. Okay? Okay, let's see how we go. I'm sure all of you will do well. So the 31st quality of Krishna is Shauraha. Shauraha is one of the names of Vishnu in Vishnu Sahasranam also. Shuri Shaura Janeshwaraha, which means Shauraha means heroic. So one who is very heroic in battle. So the actual definition of this is one who is enthusiastic in military activities. So you know, like if you go to ordinary people and you ask them, do you want to join the war? Most people will say, no, I don't want to join a war. But if you go to Krishna and ask him, do you want to join a war? Krishna initially will say no, but when he gets enthusiastic about it, no one can stop him. Like even nowadays, like if you go to some army people, like if you go to anyone from the army here, no one in the army, okay. So if someone goes to like if you go to an army person, if you ask him to fight, he'll always be ready to fight. So Krishna has that quality also, where Krishna is always ready to fight in battle. So can someone give any examples where Krishna fought in a battle, not assisted in a battle? Like you can't call Mahabharata war there because Krishna tried to defer that war for a long time. So can anyone give an example where Krishna fought in a war? Jarasandha, yes. There's one particular thing about the fight with Jarasandha actually, which caught the attention of Rupa Goswami, who's talking about these 64 qualities. He says that the fight with Jarasandha, does anyone know how many times Krishna fought with Jarasandha before ultimately killing him? 17 or 18 times I think he fought. 18th time he killed him. So it's explained that at least for the first 13 times, Krishna fought in such a way that he killed all of Jarasandha's army, but he left Jarasandha as it is. So Jarasandha was not killed, but his whole army was killed. And in the meantime, it was so great that, or can we not play Mridanga, please? It's a bit disturbing during class, sorry. So one of the things about the fight with Jarasandha was that so Krishna fought with Jarasandha in such a way that he killed all of Jarasandha's soldiers, but he left Jarasandha as it is. He didn't even touch Jarasandha. And on the contrary, all of the soldiers that were there on Krishna's side did not get touched by Jarasandha's army at all. So Krishna's soldiers remained as it is, and Jarasandha's whole army got wiped out. So Krishna's expertise in fighting was like that. Can anyone name any other example or any other pastime from Krishna's Leela or even from one of his other avatars where he was very keen to fight? Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, yes. He always loves to fight with them, yes. Parshuram is there, yes. Parshuram slaughtered the Kshatriyas 21 times over. So 21 times he slaughtered them, yes. But that's not really a battle, because the battle with Parshuram was with Kartivirya Arjun. How many of you know about Kartivirya Arjun? Yeah, you know about Kartivirya Arjun. So Kartivirya Arjun had beheaded Jamadagni. So that is, Jamadagni was Parshuram's father. Actually, no, that happened afterwards. So what had happened was Kartivirya Arjun had stolen Jamadagni's Kamadhenu cow. So then at that time it's described that Parshuram took his axe and he wiped out Jamadagni and his whole army at that time. So then Kartivirya Arjun's son got very annoyed at Parshuram. And he said that, he's wiped out, he's killed my father, I will go and kill his father. I mean, can you imagine the brain of this guy, like the son of Kartivirya Arjun? Like Parshuram single-handedly killed his father and his whole army. And despite that, Kartivirya Arjun's sons are thinking that they can go and kill Parshuram's father, Jamadagni. So they go and they behead Jamadagni. And when Parshuram finds out about that, he goes on a rampage. So then he kills the whole Kshatriya race 21 times, it's described. So now that is the wrath of the Lord. So when the Lord gets angry, or when the Lord is keen to fight, no one can stop him. Best example in another case is seen with Lord Ram. When Lord Ram went to fight with Khar and Dushan. I'm sure all of you would have heard of the names of Khar and Dushan. So the thing with Khar and Dushan was that they were processing towards Janasthana, where Lord Ram was stationed at that time. But it's described that Lord Ram was so eager to fight them that he actually came forward to fight. So it's not that Lord Ram waited in Panchavati. Lord Ram actually started walking towards Janasthana so that he could fight with 14,000 demons and slaughter all of them without even having a scratch. So such is the valor of the Lord. The Lord, when he wants to fight, he loves to fight. I mean, we all have that tendency also. Like sometimes we also get in the mood where we want to fight. Not always, but some people, maybe it's there always. But for most people, we get the urge now and then to fight. So this quality of ours comes from Krishna. But Krishna is extremely heroic in battle. So that's the 31st quality. Now moving on. The next quality is Karunaha. Karunaha means that he is compassionate. Compassionate, the way Rupa Goswami describes it, is one who is unable to bear another's distress. So when you see someone else in distress, generally most people, they feel happy that, oh, my neighbor is in distress, oh, that's good. Yeah, I told him not to do that, like for example. So most people are either happy or they don't care about the sufferings of others. Whereas Krishna cares about the sufferings of everyone else, and he is unable to bear another person's distress. So he becomes extremely compassionate in this case. So can anyone give an example of Krishna being extremely compassionate or showing this quality of Karunaha?
You can see in this Yuga, he descended himself as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give a sense of bhakti and take him back to earth.
Yeah, that is there. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to, Krishna in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to deliver all the fallen souls, because none of us have any hope of going back home, back to Godhead, or being liberated even. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes and he distributes the love of God. That is there, yes. But can you give me one example where he practically showed this quality of Karuna, where he was extremely compassionate towards someone? Or he felt distress at seeing the misery of someone. So the example that's given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is when Bhishma was lying on the battlefield. So when Bhishma was lying on the battlefield, he was pierced with lots of arrows. And he was dropped dead on which day of Mahabharat war? Which day did he drop? Mahabharat war ran for how many days? 18 days. So Bhishma fell on which day? Anyone knows? No one knows. So Bhishma fell on the 11th day, actually. Yeah, so after that, all of the commanders in chief, they only lasted 1 day each. Yeah, so there were like 7 commanders after that. So on the 11th day, Bhishma fell. And then the war finished after 7 more days. So for 7 days, he was in the battlefield, he was lying, without food, without water, and with arrows pierced. in the middle of the battlefield. So he was lying like that. So he was in an extremely distressed position. So after the whole battle was finished, at that time Krishna and the Pandavas, they come to visit Bhishma. And when Krishna sees the condition of Bhishma, he has tears in his eyes. And he falls at the feet of Bhishma and he says, "Is there something I can do to help you?" So such is the compassionate nature of Krishna, that even though Bhishma was fighting on the other side, and Bhishma was, it's described, he was showering thousands and thousands of arrows on Krishna also. But still, Krishna felt extreme compassion on Bhishma. So this is one of the qualities of Krishna, that he feels compassion towards other living entities. This quality is there in many of the avatars or many of the incarnations of the Lord also. In fact, all incarnations of the Lord demonstrate this karuna, that they become distressed by seeing the sufferings of others. So this is one of the qualities of Krishna. So then moving on to the 33rd quality is Manyam Anankrit, which means that he is very respectful towards others. So respectful towards whom is the question. So he is respectful, or he shows his respect to the guru, to the brahmana, and to the old persons. So gurus, brahmanas, and the old persons. So for this you can have examples from both Ram Leela and from Krishna Leela. So in Krishna Leela it is described that when Krishna was living in Dwarka, or when he was even in Mathura, at that time he would often pay his respects. It is vividly described. Even though Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he doesn't have to pay respects to anyone, but he pays respects to his guru, he pays respects to his seniors, and to the brahmanas, it is described. And in Rama Leela, actually it's described that when King Dashrath was wanting to coronate someone, like he realized that he has become too old and it's now time to coronate someone else as the king. So at that time he asks the citizens of Ayodhya, he asks them, who should I coronate as the king? So then at that time all the citizens of Ayodhya say that Rama is the only one who should be coronated as the king. So then Dasharatha asks, why should I coronate Rama? He knows why Rama should be coronated, but he wants to hear from the citizens. So he asks them, why should Rama be coronated as the king? So then at that time, one of the citizens, it's described that one of the arguments that the citizens used was that Rama from a young age, he has been coming and offering his respects to the elderly people in our house and also to the brahmanas. And he not only offers respects, but he even sits down at the lotus feet and hears them recite the Vedas. And he learns shlokas from them. And he listens to their valuable instructions. So Lord Ram had this quality even from a very young age, that he was very respectful towards his elders. Nowadays, in the Western world, in Kali Yuga also, this quality is going. Like people are, especially where we are here in the Western world, like there is no concept of respecting the elders, especially. But this is very characteristic of the Vedic society. Even nowadays, even though most of the culture is going, but still people do maintain some kind of respect for the elders, especially. So this is something that is very important. And this quality was seen in Krishna also. Then next quality, 34th quality is Dakshinaha. Dakshinaha means that he is very gentle. So this is exact opposite of being prideful. So if someone is proud, the opposite of that is that he is not puffed up. So he is very gentle and he is very humble, you could say also. So what is this quality? Can anyone give an example of this quality where Krishna is not puffed up of his position? So he is offering respects to the elders, brahmanas and sages, that even a proud person can do. But is there an example of Krishna offering respects to someone who is equal to him, almost equal to him? Sudama will come later in one of the other pastimes. Yeah, but yeah, we'll keep Sudama for later. Any other example for now? I mean, Sudama is correct also. It's not that, there can only be one answer. There can be many answers. I'm just pointing out the answers that the acharyas have given. But Sudama can be correct also. So Krishna gave respect to Sudama also. That is right. Yeah. So the answer.
He smashed function and gave the whole kingdom to Ugrasena. At that point, he literally gave that kingdom to Ugrasena. He could have taken on his own account, but he displayed in such a way that he was a menial servant and dependent under the jurisdiction of Ugrasena. Bearded dynasty.
Technically, that would fit under the previous one, where he was offering respects to the elderly. Yeah, maybe it would fit more in that case, whereas because Ugrasena is much older than Krishna. Whereas here it's talking about someone who is almost at the same level as Krishna. So the one example that is given is when Yudhishthir Maharaj invited Krishna for the Rajasuya Yagya to be performed. So when they had received Indraprasth at that time, so at that time it's described that he made it so beautiful and he made such a nice palace there that he wanted to perform a Rajasuya Yagya. So when he was performing the Rajasuya Yagya, he invited Krishna, and Krishna came on a chariot. And as soon as Krishna saw Yudhishthir Maharaj, before Yudhishthir Maharaj could offer his respects to Krishna, Krishna got off the chariot and he offered respects to Yudhishthir Maharaj. So Krishna's behavior was so gentle, and that's why actually a lot of people, they don't understand that Krishna can be the Lord, Krishna can be the Supreme Lord. Because in their minds they think that Krishna is, just meant to be some guy sitting, like God is meant to be someone who never associates with human beings, and he's meant to be someone who is, like very harsh. And the Western concept of God is like that, like God just gives punishment. But actually the Vedic concept of God is very different, because in Vedic concept of God, God is also the most renounced and the most humble person. In fact, he's more humble than we can ever be. And so much so that, like you can't even recognize that he's God because he's so humble. You might think that how is it possible for God to be so humble? So this is one of the qualities of Krishna, that even though Yudhishthir Maharaj was just slightly older to him, but considered in the same age category, still he went and offered his respects to Yudhishthir Maharaj. So that is there. So that is the quality that's given. And then the next quality is Vinayi. Vinayi means that he is liberal and he is humble to those who are lower than him. So now we have seen three cases. One where he's offering respects to those who are higher than him. One where he's offering respects to someone who's on the equal platform. And third one is he's offering respect to someone who is lower. So now for that one, can anyone give an example where Krishna offers or is compassionate or like respectful towards those who are younger than him or like lower than him in that case?
In Ram Leela, he was so respected Guha and that squirrel.
Guha and who?
The squirrel, like was trying
Oh, squirrel. Actually, okay, thank you for bringing that up. That squirrel story is actually not there in Ramayana.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. So there are a lot of things which we think are there in Ramayana, but they're not there. So because the squirrel story goes, I'm sure many of you have heard that story, that that squirrel was taking little rocks when they were building the bridge. At that time, the squirrel was taking some rocks, and at that time, Hanuman looked at the squirrel and he said, "Oh, what are you doing? What will happen with that little piece? I'm taking the big boulder, so my work is much higher than yours." But actually, if we look at the Ramayana, that's completely against Hanuman's character. Like Hanuman was one of the most humble devotees of the Lord. He was very knowledgeable and he was very adept in his behavior and in his speech. So this story actually doesn't fit, and most importantly, it is actually not there in Ramayana. So there are lots of misconceptions that are there in Ramayana anyways. So thank you for bringing that one up. Yeah, even though it is in a different sense, but yeah, it's good to know that anyways. Yeah. So the first example is good, that you can even take the example of Jatayu. Yeah, Jatayu was a vulture. In fact, so much so that vultures are considered to be like very inauspicious animals. That if you touch a vulture or if you see a vulture when you're going out to do an auspicious task, you're meant to take a shower because they're considered to be very inauspicious. So, but Rama was so kind and so compassionate that he not only embraced a vulture after the vulture had given his life trying to protect Krishna or trying to protect Sita, but he even gave the vulture liberation. So much so that he said that you go to my dham, you become eternally liberated by becoming a Vaikunthavasi. So the Lord is very, very much respectful and very, very much humble towards even those who are inferior to him in that position. Then Prabhu gave the example of Guha. So when Lord Ram wanted to cross, so when he was exiled, at that time he had to cross over the Tamasa river, or Ganges, Tamasa, same thing, because Tamasa is considered a branch of the Ganges. So at that time, Lord Ram had to cross, and at that time, the person who helped him was Guha. Guha is a tribal man. So if you look at the Varnashram system, you have the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and then those who don't even fall in the Varnashrama system, one of those tribes is known as Nishadas. So Nishadas are essentially tribal people. So they are not even considered part of the Varnashram system. So let alone a Shudra, let alone a Brahmana, even a Shudra would not associate with a Nishada. That's how low their position was, if you look at the social hierarchy at that time. But Lord Ram accepted him as one of his brothers because Guha offered his hospitality towards the Lord. So such was the magnanimity of the Lord. Like if the Lord was to come today, whom would he embrace? Like, I don't know, I'm just trying to think like, what kind of people are the lowest kind of people nowadays? It's kind of hard to say because now everyone is so fallen that it's hard to say who would be the lowest type of person. But yeah, at that time it was like maybe the butchers, yeah, nowadays. So if Lord Ram goes and associates and gives his mercy to one of the butchers, that would be a parallel to how he gave his mercy to Nishada at that time. So you can see Krishna offers his respects to those elders and those who are equal to him, and also to those who may be inferior to him if they offer some kind of service to him. Okay. So that's the 35th quality. So now moving on to the 36th one is Hriman. Hriman means that he is shy. Now this is an interesting one. Can anyone give an example of when Krishna or Rama or any of his incarnations was shy or bashful? See, that's the thing. These are the pastimes of Krishna. This is what we should be meditating upon. Like, we should be thinking about Krishna's pastimes, not about what happened in the news. I mean, you can read the news. I'm not saying reading the news is bad, but that should not be the object of our meditation. The object of our meditation should be the pastimes of the Lord, the names, qualities, pastimes, Naam, Roop, Gun, the form of the Lord. That should be the content of our meditation. That's the reason why we discuss this before Janmashtami. Actually, this should be discussed throughout the year, but we make it a point to discuss it during Janmashtami anyways. So how is Krishna shy? Is there an example of Krishna exhibiting shyness? Actually, there's an example of Krishna exhibiting shyness in Ram Leela and also in Krishna Leela. I'll tell you the one in Ram Leela first. So the one in Ram Leela is when Lord Ram killed Vali. So then at that time, his wife his wife Tara, she comes to the scene and she is crying and she is hugging Vali at that time. So it's described that at that time, when Lord Ram saw that Tara is there, he pretty much just put his face down. He did not even look at Tara eye to eye like that. So it's explained that at that time, Lord Ram exhibited the quality of shyness. So when Tara saw what had happened to her husband and then she saw the face of Ram, that Ram is not even making eye contact with her, then she understood that whatever Ram has done, it's purposeful. Whatever Ram has done, he will never do anything which is inauspicious, because he cannot even glance at someone else's wife. So then she understood that whatever my husband has done is completely wrong, because Vali, we know, had he had forcibly taken Sugriva's wife, who was Ruma. So you know that whole misunderstanding between Vali and Sugriva happened. So then after that, Vali had kicked Sugriva out and he had taken his wife as his own wife. Ruma was essentially, you could say, kidnapped by by Vali. So Tara could see all of that Vali has no control over his senses and he is not respectful towards other men's wives. Whereas Lord Ram was extremely respectful and he even exhibited the quality of shyness. So she understood that Rama is a Dharmo Vigrahavan, which means that he is the embodiment of Dharma. So that was one case where Lord Ram exhibited shyness. Now, when does Krishna exhibit shyness? Krishna exhibits shyness all the time, actually. So if you read Leela, for example, if you read Govardhan Leela, it is explained that when Lord Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill, at that time, all the devotees of Vrindavan were there. So the gopis were there, Krishna's boyfriends were there, gopas were there, all the elderly devotees were there, like Nand Baba, Yashodama, and all the elderly devotees were there, Brahmanas were there, everyone was there under the Govardhan hill. So it's explained that at that time the gopis were looking at Krishna and they were smiling because they were seeing, oh, Krishna is so powerful, that he can lift the whole Govardhan hill on his little finger. So when Krishna was looking at everyone, he happened to see the gopis. And when he saw the gopis, he was smiling looking at them as well. But then as that was happening, Krishna also happened to notice that Balram was looking at Krishna, and Balram was also smiling. So then Krishna did not know why is Balram smiling. He thought that Balram is smiling because he has seen Krishna looking at the gopis. So then it's explained that at that time Krishna's face became red and he started to look down and he was smiling. So Krishna was also extremely shy at that time because he was caught looking at the gopis by Balram. So this is another nice example of Krishna exhibiting the pastime of shyness. Actually, if you read Krishna's pastimes, there are numerous instances where Krishna exhibited the quality of shyness, because those are the kinds of activities Krishna did in the first place anyways. So compared to Ram Leela, it's a bit hard to find. Krishna Leela, it's a bit easy to find. So that is the quality of Hriman. Now the next 1, 2, 3, 4 qualities, I'm sure all of you will be able to give many examples, because these are very, very popular qualities of the Lord. So the 37th quality of the Lord is Sharanagataha Palaka, which means that one who protects those who have surrendered unto him. So when someone surrenders unto the Lord always protects them. So can anyone give any example of a devotee who has been protected by the Lord, like when they have taken shelter of him? So we'll limit it to one per person. Prabhu, can you start? Give one example. The Lord protecting a devotee who has taken shelter of him. Yeah, exactly. Just give one. Vibhishana, yes. Okay, Mataji. Vibhishana, yes. Prahlad Maharaj surrendered unto Krishna. He got protected, yes. No? Okay. Mataji, do you know any pastime where Krishna offered protection to to someone who had surrendered unto him? Everyone has to give me at least one example. Yes, Prabhu? Drupada? Draupadi. No, Drupada actually was killed in the battle. So yeah, he didn't really take shelter of Krishna anyways. Yeah, but Draupadi did. Yeah, I'll give you points for that. Draupadi was offered protection by Krishna when she asked for it. Yes? Prabhu, give an example? Kunti Devi, yes, very good. So Kunti Devi was protected throughout her life by Krishna, yes. Mataji? Huh? Oh, come on, you've been coming for a long time. You should know at least one example. Arjuna, yes, Krishna protected Arjuna in the battle. In fact, so many times he protected Arjuna. Yes, that is one. Yes, Prabhu? Rajiv, Prabhu? Oh, you said, no, he said Draupadi. I said Draupada. Okay. Come on, there's thousands of examples are there. You can start from the first avatar. Which one was the first? Out of the Dash avatar, which one is the first one? Matsya avatar. So which avatar whom did Matsya protect? Manu. Chakshusha Manu, it's explained. So Chakshusha Manu was protected. Then next avatar is who? Next avatar was Kurma avatar, sorry. Yes, Kurma avatar protected who? All the demigods, all the devtas. So he protected them. Yes. Next avatar was who? Varahadev. Whom did Varahadev protect? Bhumi Devi. So he protected Bhumi Devi. Yes. Then Narsimha Dev, Prahlad Maharaj was already given. Next is Vaman Dev. Whom did Vaman Dev protect? Bali Maharaj. So Bali Maharaj is always protected. Yes. Next avatar is which one?
The cows being protected.
Cows are protected. Yes. In Krishna Leela, all the cows are always protected. Yes, that is true. Yes. Parshuram is there. Yes. Whom did Parshuram protect? No one really. He just killed. So Parshuram is an exception. Yeah. Next one is Lord Ram. How many people did Lord Ram protect? He protected so many people. Yeah. Hanuman. Yes, Hanuman was always protected. All the Vanaras, Sugriva, Angada, all of them were protected. They took shelter at the feet of the Lord. They were all protected. Krishna Leela, so many people were there who took. In fact, when the Mahabharata war was about to start, at that time, Yudhishthir Maharaj made an announcement that, whoever wants to join our cause, if you think that we are right, you can still join our cause. And to his army, he said, if you think that Kauravas are right, you can join their army also. So it is explained that one person left the Kaurava army and joined Krishna's army at that time. So who was that? Because that person was protected till the end. So even though he abandoned his brothers, he was protected till the end. Does anyone know who that was? No, Vikarna was actually killed, unfortunately. It was Yuyutsu. Yuyutsu was protected by Krishna. So he left the Kaurava side, he left his own brothers, and he came to Krishna's side. And Krishna protected him. Till the end, he's still there. So the 5 Pandavas and Yuyutsu, they survive from Krishna's side. There are a few others also, but yeah, this is there. Arjuna, Krishna protected so many times. Like if you think about how many times Arjuna took a vow that if I don't accomplish this, I'm going to kill myself. You think about that, how many times Krishna had to protect him? Like once in the war, he said that I'm going to kill whom? Jayadratha. He said, I'm going to kill Jayadratha. So then Krishna had to somehow do his tricks and somehow make sure that Jayadratha is killed. Then at one point, I don't know how many of you know this story. It's there in Srimad Bhagavatam. That once upon a time in Krishna's kingdom, there was a Brahmana who every year he would have a son and that son would die. So then at that time it's explained that that Brahmana, he went to Arjuna and he said that, every year I've been having a son and that son dies. It seems like someone is taking away my son. So Arjuna promised that, okay, I will make sure I find out who takes your son and I will bring your son back. Otherwise, I will give up my life. Krishna becomes extremely annoyed. Krishna is like, come on, why are you making such vows again and again? You should not do that. So then at that time it's described that the Brahmana had another son born and that son also died. And the son so now Arjuna is like, oh no, I have to commit suicide now. So he goes to Krishna and he says, oh Krishna, can you please help me find that son of the Brahmana, because otherwise I have to commit suicide. So then Krishna is like, okay, fine, here we go. So then they trace where the son has gone and they find out that Vishnu, Mahavishnu, had stolen that son. And why did Mahavishnu steal that son? Because Mahavishnu himself wanted to visit Dwarka and take darshan of the Lord, but he was not able to. So he did a trick where Krishna himself will come to Vaikuntha, so that Mahavishnu himself could take darshan of the Lord. So this is explained. So Krishna protects his devotees all the time. So that is explained. So yeah, very good. So Sharanagataha Palaka. That is the 37th quality. 38th quality is Sukhi. Now, I'm sure all of you know what Sukhi means. Sukhi means that he is always happy. Not sleepy, but he is always happy. Yeah. So, can anyone give an example where Krishna is always happy, or can anyone explain how Krishna was always happy? No, Krishna was always happy in Dwarka. You see how much opulence Krishna had in Dwarka. So Krishna was surrounded by palaces. He had so many servants. He had 16,108 wives. He had so much opulence. So he was extremely happy in Dwarka. Yeah, he had everything that anyone can think of in Dwarka. So that is and the other thing is that there was not a single point in Dwarka Leela where Krishna actually became sad. At least materially, we don't see that. Can someone shut the door, please? The noise. Vrindavan Leela also is there, yes. In Vrindavan Leela also Krishna was always happy. Yeah. But interestingly enough, Rupa Goswami does not cite Vrindavan Leela, because in Vrindavan Leela there is another thing which is higher than happiness, which is anxiety. Anxiety is always there in Vrindavan Leela. In Dwarka Leela, it's like peaceful, like everything is peaceful, everything is going on nicely. Krishna's family is there, sons are there, grandsons are there. I escape my mother so that I can go and meet the gopis. Or how can I play with my friends for longer so that my mother doesn't catch me? So in Vrindavan Leela, that anxiety is there, but that anxiety is a source of immense bliss also. So yeah, that is there, definitely. So then the 39th quality is Bhakta Suhrit. Bhakta Suhrit means that one who is the well-wisher of his devotees. So that example we can take, Mataji, what she said of Sudama. So that's the example that is given, that Sudama, he visited the Lord. All know the story of Sudama. So Sudama was very poor, and he didn't really care about his poverty, but his wife was very much worried about by looking at Sudama's condition. So she wanted Sudama to go and ask for a boon from Krishna, or at least some material opulence from him, so that Sudama doesn't have to suffer so much. So then she gave him a pot of rice, like a little pack of rice, I should say, yeah, to offer to Krishna. So then when Krishna took that little pack of rice, he became extremely ecstatic and he gave him the two worlds, it's described. He gave him the opulence of the two worlds, not exactly the control of the two worlds, but he gave him the opulence of the two worlds. So Sudama became extremely rich. So much so that when Sudama comes back after meeting Krishna, he sees that he's trying to find his hut. He can't find his hut. And then he sees that in the place where there was a hut, there's a huge palace. And there's one young girl running and coming out to him and she's saying, oh my husband, how are you? He's like, hey, I'm not your husband, who are you? He couldn't even recognize his wife. And then the wife says that, it's me, you don't recognize me, but since you went to Dwarka, I got my youth back and I've become extremely beautiful. And so Sudama was like, oh wow, like this is crazy. So then he goes in and he sees that there's like an extremely opulent palace from the inside. So Sudama obviously was a pure devotee of the Lord, so he didn't care whether he got a palace or not. So it's described that Sudama actually became more remorseful at that time, that oh, I had to go and ask something from Krishna. So it's explained that Sudama performed double the amount of tapasya that he was already performing. But his family members were happy at that time. So Krishna always looks after the welfare of his devotees. Anyone who surrendered to the Lord doesn't have to fear anything. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Kshemam Vahami Aham, which means that he will protect what you have and he will give you what you don't have. So there is absolutely no danger in taking shelter of the Lord. So we should not be scared that we're going to take shelter of the Lord or anything like that. There's one common misconception that people have in India that, which I've heard, I don't know how many of you have heard, that if we take shelter of Krishna, if you become a devotee of Krishna, then Krishna will take everything from you. That is why you don't become a devotee of Krishna. But actually that is not a philosophy that's based on any shastra. It's not logical, it's not true, because Krishna always protects what you have and he gives you what you don't have. So that is there. So we should not fall into some misconceptions like that. And then the last quality we'll discuss today is prema vasya, which means that Krishna becomes controlled by love. Can anyone give an example where Krishna became controlled by love? Huh? Gopis, yes. Krishna was controlled by the love of the gopis. That is definitely there. Any other example? So much so that he forgets his own promise. Or he doesn't even care about his own reputation. He is so much controlled by love of the devotees. Haridas Thakur's love is there, yes. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even though Haridas Thakur was from a Muslim background, still at that time it's described that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would embrace him. So yes, Haridas Thakur is there. Yeah, that's the main quality that is described in Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So Krishna was so much controlled by the love of the love that he had for Arjuna, that to protect Arjuna, Krishna was willing to break his own vow. So I'm sure all of you know that Krishna had vowed before the Mahabharat war that he would not lift any weapon. But Bhishma wanted to see this quality of the Lord. How much is the Lord controlled by the love of his devotees? So at that time it's described that on the 11th day, Bhishma was literally showering arrows like crazy. Like he was throwing like 1,000, 10,000 arrows towards Arjuna. If Krishna had not intervened at that time, Arjuna would have died that day, it's described. So that's why Krishna was getting very angry that someone was going to kill his devotee. So then to protect his devotee, it's explained that Krishna took his chariot wheel, the chariot that was broken by Bhishma, and he was charging towards Bhishma to kill him with that wheel. That picture is very famous. And does anyone know the name of the Lord that is given? Like Krishna is given a particular name because of that pastime. No, not Chakri. Rathangapani. One of the last few names in Vishnu Sahasranam is there. Rathangapani Rakshobhya Sarva Praharanayudha. Rathangapani. That is the most, it's explained that that is the form of the Lord that Bhishma, when he was leaving his body, he was meditating on that form of the Lord. That how the Lord is so compassionate towards his devotees. How he is so much controlled by the love of Arjuna that he is even willing to break his own promise. That he will not lift any battlefield. Krishna doesn't even care about his reputation. that he's willing to break his promise. So, having said that, these I've just discussed 10 qualities of Krishna today. There are 64 qualities like this, and there's generally one pastime at least that is associated with these qualities. So, having said that, I'll finish there. If anyone has any questions or anything you'd like to add or anything you don't agree with, we can discuss that now. If you're not sleeping during the class.
Can you please brief elaborate on
Rathanga Pani means, essentially, Pani refers to the wheel. Rathanga Pani means one who lifted the wheel. So Rathanga Pani is the name of the Lord because, as we know, that Bhishma had destroyed the chariot of Arjuna. So then at that time, Krishna genuinely thought, because he was so much controlled by the love of Arjuna, he thought that Arjuna is going to die, or Arjuna is going to leave his body, and Bhishma is going to kill him. So it's explained that at that time, Krishna took he was looking for a weapon, because Krishna didn't bring any weapons. So the only weapon he could see was the chariot wheel. So he picked up that chariot wheel and he charged towards Bhishma to kill him with that chariot wheel. He was going to use that as his Sudarshan Chakra, it's explained. So that form of the Lord. So Bhishma, when he was leaving his body, he vividly describes this form of the Lord. He says that the Lord was covered in blood. He was covered in arrows. And yet his eyes were like extremely red. And he was charging towards me with that huge chariot wheel to kill me. He says that form of the Lord is extremely beautiful and extremely pleasing to me. He says, I can't forget that form of the Lord. It's a very interesting form of the Lord. Like, we won't think about that, like Krishna is so angry, covered in blood, and he's running to kill me. Like, who pleasantly remembers that form of the Lord? We might get scared when we see that form of the Lord, but Bhishma remembers that form of the Lord. And in fact, that is why at the end of Vishnu Sahasranama, that is one of the names of the Lord he gives. It's right towards the end. And that is the form that he remembers when he is leaving his body. So it's a very beautiful pastime because Bhishma was in the rasa of Virya Rasa. Virya Rasa means like he is in a chivalry form. So like soldiers, for example, like soldiers, I asked that's why at the beginning if anyone is a soldier. But soldiers think differently. Their idea of honor and discipline and everything is much different than normal people. The things that give us happiness don't give soldiers happiness. Like for example, for us, like eating ice cream gives happiness. For a soldier, that kind of thing doesn't matter. For a soldier, killing an enemy in the battlefield, protecting his comrades, that gives him happiness. So, yeah, these kinds of mundane things don't give them happiness. Their mentality is completely different. That is why this form of the Lord, where he was seeing the Lord coming to kill him by trying to protect Arjuna, that gave him immense pleasure. So that is why that form of the Lord is what he remembers at the time of his death. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Mataji?
I'm pretty sure that there is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam where he says, in maybe 10th or 11th canto, where he says that if I especially favor someone, I will deprive him of his wealth.
Yeah, that's right.
So how would you describe it?
That is there, yes. So that statement is there that Krishna says that when he specially favors someone, at that time he takes away that person's wealth. Now that is only done if the person has been given wealth and he's not using that in Krishna's service. That if we don't do that, then yes, Krishna will take it away. But most of the times Krishna will not do that. It's there in the commentary. So if we read the commentary, it's explained that Krishna does not do that to everyone. He only does that with his special devotees. Yeah. Generally speaking, it's those kinds of devotees who have been given a lot of opulence and a lot of wealth, and they don't use it in serving Krishna. So then Krishna gets annoyed, and he takes everything away from those kinds of people. So for most people like us, he won't do that, because we're not at that level where we may be expected to do those kinds of things for Krishna anyways. For us, if we just wake up early in the morning and if we chant Hare Krishna, do our 16 rounds, and if we just eat prasadam for the rest of our life, Krishna will be so much pleased with us with that kind of sharanagati anyways. But with those from those whom Krishna expects something great, like there may be some devotees who have a lot of capability to serve Krishna. Like most of us, we don't have any capability, but some devotees like Srila Prabhupada, for example, there was a lot of capability to serve Krishna. And when these people are wasting that opportunity and not using that, and they're so much more interested in amassing wealth and stuff, then Krishna will take away their wealth. So it's a very special case for certain devotees. Yeah, that's why it said when he has special mercy. Special mercy means it's for special devotees only. It's not for everyone. Yeah, but generally it's explained yoga kshema mahamyamam. In fact, Krishna protects everything. Prahlad Maharaj, he was given a kingdom to rule. Bali Maharaj, even though Krishna had taken everything from him, he gave everything back to him that you rule until the end of this Manmantra. And then in the next Manmantra, you become Indra. That position Krishna gave Bali. So in the next Manmantra, our current Indra is going to be replaced by Bali Maharaj because he had surrendered on to Krishna. So Krishna protected everything he had. In fact, Dhruv Maharaj wanted a kingdom that was bigger than his own father, Uttanpad, or even Brahma. So then Krishna gave him the kingdom of Dhruvaloka, which persists even after the destruction of the whole universe. So Krishna does look after his devotees and he does protect what they have. He doesn't always take it. That taking away is only there for some special devotees. That's why it's special mercy. Okay. Thank you, Achal. Any other questions or comments? I think it's time for Aarti, so we'll finish there. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we'll request everyone to stand up for Aarti now.